Okay, guys, it's 6:15, time to call the meeting to order. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right?
5, 6, 7.
Yeah, we're 4.
Where did it go?
Minnie Dora Haynes, Chair, present.
Orlando Navarro, present. Erasmo Villarreal, present.
Roberto Rodriguez, present.
And there's Freddie. And Joe.
How y'all doing today?
Hello, I just called the meeting to order, just perfect timing.
Perfect.
There's Freddie and Joe. Thank you, guys. First agenda item, discussing impossible action to recommend to the Board of Trustees approval of JOC number 001, 2019, gym HVAC systems replacement at 8800 McPherson.
Yes, Madam Chair, committee members, back in November, we came to the Bond Oversight Committee and asked if we could request from the Board of Trustees to fund the replacement of the large HVAC system at the old United High School, 8800 McPherson. We estimated the cost at that time to be about $560,000. You approved us requesting it from our Board of Trustees. We took it to our board. They approved it to be funded out of the HVAC and renovation line item in our bond program budget. We went out for a JOC, and the excuse me, the cost, the best price that we got was from Linedecker Construction in the amount of $563,000, which includes a $50,000 contingency, which means the base bid is $513,000. Again, at the time, we thought it was going to be around $560,000, so it came right about it within budget. Mr. Again, you want to continue?
Yes. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Bond Oversight Committee, and members of the audience. We did receive a proposal, as Mr. Zuniga mentioned, with your authorization to go out for bids. We went ahead and advertised for our job order contractors. We have a pool of 6 vendors, and only one submitted a proposal, which was Linedecker Construction. And at this time, we're recommending approval of that proposal in the amount of $563,000, including a $50,000 contingency. We do have a brief PowerPoint presentation just to kind of go over the scope of the project and refresh our memories on what's going to get done. DBR, mechanical electrical engineers from San Antonio, designed the entire project. They have developed the specifications, engineering plans. Ms. Jackie Chang is here. She's the actual engineer of record on this project. She'll go over a brief PowerPoint presentation. Jackie.
The scope involved replacing the 2 existing DX split systems that currently serve the gym with 2 new 60-ton package units. The graphic we overlaid the new plans with the site view, so you can see their rooftop units or split package units sitting on the floor, and the ductwork is replaced. The existing units, they were replaced in 1990, so it's a pretty old system, but that's getting replaced. And then along with that is the energy management controls, which will function with help the units function to comply with the IMC and also the new energy code, the 2015 IECC. Regarding the equipment efficiency, the new package units are 16.3 ER, and then the baseline being 11.6, so they're quite efficient units. In the existing conditions, the first photo, you can see the return air opening. If you're standing in the room, that's what you would look at from the grill sides. And then the second picture is the doors that open into the mechanical room. That outside air is passing through the doors, and so there wasn't really a way to modulate or measure how much of outside air and return air would be mixing. So this new system that we're putting in gives that ability with demand control ventilation as the code requires for this assembly occupancy. And then the third picture, sorry. There are some existing fans that were used for ventilation. Sorry. There were some existing fans used for ventilation prior to the gym having HVAC, and so some of those are most of them will be removed. The ones that we will not use as existing penetrations. Another project is in place with Cavazos Architects to fill in the penetrations that will not be used. And then also, before I move on, I did want to mention that the locker room area that's adjacent to this gym, it did not have any air condition, and so in the last year, we added some split systems to provide conditioning because this campus previously had gas heat in the gym, and so that gas had been removed, and so now there's the systems in place for the heating and cooling also. So as previously mentioned, this is the table of the budgets. The base budget was set at $560,000 with a contingency allowance of $50,000, so total being $610,000. And so our base bid proposal from Leyendecker was at $513,000 with that contingency for a total of $563,000.
If you go back to the, excuse me, if you go back to the graphic,
Sure.
the aerial, I guess you call it.
Oh, that one?
Yeah. On the, in between the two buildings, I see four, like black marked out, I don't know what those are. Are those fans that are extractors or something? You see what I'm
On the
looking
bottom
at?
part? If you're looking at these.
Those
Yeah.
things right there, yeah.
Yes, so now the energy code requires economizers after you get to a certain size. So those openings previously had fans that would help with the ventilation before there was HVAC in the gym. So we are repurposing those openings to serve as relief so that when that economizer cycle operates, there will be a point of relief for that overpressurization of outside air. And the openings that we're not using, they'll fill in. Yes. Good question.
Those areas to the right, on the locker rooms, those are the ones that we just recently air conditioned as part of another project, not through a bond.
Which areas are those?
The locker rooms areas, there's boys and girls.
No, but the ones you said you just, those are the ones you
The
just
The
did?
locker rooms.
All
The locker rooms?
Basically, all this area, the girls' lockers and showers, restroom rooms, and there's the boys' athletics and PE.
Oh,
It
okay.
never had air conditioning before, and it had gas heating. We've eliminated the gas heating, as Jackie mentioned, and we're going with electric heating. The lines were just like 35, 37 years old, so we eliminated those. The systems are more efficient now with this 16.3 IDR. But yeah, all that has been recently retrofitted. So the entire facility will now, if this is approved, will now be air conditioned.
Yeah.
The central buildings.
And the current split systems, facilities has noted that one of them is completely out of the condensing units, and the other one is at its half, I think one compressor is running out of the four, so it's, yeah, on its last leg.
We're not using the gym at this time, so, but if we were using it, it would not be sufficient. We're 25%. So,
Capacity.
they're already, the units are 28 years old.
Yeah, but they were from 1990.
Given their life expectancy.
Does anyone else have any other questions? What are the wishes of the committee?
Madam Chair, if there's no more questions, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the recommendation by the Board of Trustees to approve JOC number 001-2019, gym HVAC system replacement at 8800 McPherson Road.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, motion carries. Thank you. Discussion and possible action to recommend to the Board of Trustees approval for reconstruction of the south parking lot at the Central Administration Office utilizing 2013 bond proceeds, interest revenue, and the related amendment to the Capital Projects Fund allocating interest revenue.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair, this is kind of along the same lines as the previous agenda item. If you'll notice, the parking lot we're talking about is the one that right here south of this building, it's right here next door between us and the tennis courts. And we're basically striping dirt now, because the asphalt is basically all gone now, and we can't even repair it anymore. And so what we'd like to do is, we have some interest income that's not assigned to anything, not assigned, it's not encumbered to anything. All the projects in our bond program are to be funded through bond proceeds, but none of the interest has been assigned or committed to any particular project. This project should come out approximately $54,000. That includes a $5,000 contingency, so it could be maybe $49,000. And we'd like to use interest revenue earned on these bond proceeds to fund this project. And they can,
Again, Madam Chair, members of the bond committee, and members of the audience, administrators, we have a layout there, a site plan of the actual parking area. Again, it's the area that it's immediately to the south of this building, between this building and the tennis courts.
we're here.
And we're proposing to do just that one part, not the area to the east. So it would just be this.
Where we're parking.
The yellow section. Parking.
Where we're parking.
Correct. And as you notice, if you park there and you walk through there, I mean, it's pretty worn
Yep.
out already. It's 25 years old. It's never really been resurfaced, and we're not rebuilding it completely. We're just scraping it and resurfacing with new asphalt. It's more of a maintenance and construction project, but we're leaving the base, which is in good condition. We're leaving the concrete pavement in place. We're just proposing to resurface. It's beyond repair, like Mr. Zuniga mentioned. We've patched and patched over the last 10, 15 years. It needs to be replaced. And as part of the master plan that we did back in 2013, prior to the bond election, the district had retained Metaform and Munoz Architects. We did identify this project, and it's there on the master facilities study, but it was at that time a priority 2, so it didn't make it to the last final round. But now it's really become a priority 1, 6 years later. So that's what we're recommending, and as far as the funding, was we could use interest funds from the bond.
So at this point, we'd like to request from our Board of Trustees, if you approve us moving forward, request from our Board of Trustees using interest revenue to be able to fund that project.
How many parking spaces?
This one probably has about 40, 45, or maybe 50 at the most. Did you know?
And it's only,
45.
it's only the south parking lot?
Correct, yes, sir. 45 plus the handicap parking spaces. That's probably about 50 total. The next parking lot, which is on the east and as well as the one on the north, they'll probably need to be resurfacing within the next 3 to 5 years. But we just want to address this one part because it's really in dire need of resurface.
And if you notice as you, I'm sorry.
Was there any way to squeeze in more parking spaces? Expanding a little bit somehow?
In that area, probably not. As you know, a natatorium is going up, so this natatorium will be eliminated here in the future as soon as the other natatorium is up. There is a possibility we could expand parking going eastward, and after that's done away with. Because as soon as the new natatorium is built, we're gonna back up a dump truck and fill this one up with nothing but concrete. And this one, it's very expensive to operate right now, it's so old.
I mean, on a normal day, when we expanded the parking, if you see on that site plan, way on the north side by the communications and technology building, between that building and human resources, on the north side, we added parking spaces recently, in the last, I think, 5, 7 years ago. So on a typical day, I mean, we're full, but it's sufficient. Today, what happened is that since now we have the new schedule, people leave until 6 p.m., and if you came in a little early, it was kind of hard to find parking spaces, but on a normal workday, I mean, we do have sufficient parking spaces.
I believe that area at the very top is fairly new.
Right, that's the one on north that we did about 5 years ago.
The next one that needs to be addressed is probably this one right here. In between us and human resources.
Yeah, it needs to be probably in the future also resurfaced, but
But this one, there's a lot of traffic here. It's just constant.
Well, and parents do use it too, when they come and drop off and pick up their students from the natatorium. Of course, that's gonna go away in a year and a half, 2 years, but in the meantime, they do park there a lot too.
And it's dangerous to walk if you're spastic like me and fall in a pothole.
Oh, Enrique, and,
Yes, sir.
Assuming that the board approves this recommendation, you're proposing to do this summer?
Yes, sir. We will do it in 2 phases, starting the first week of July. We'll do, maybe about half of it, maybe a third to a half, so that we can always have access, so that we can use the east parking area. So we will do this part first, the first 2 weeks of July. Once that is done, we'll open the driveway to get back to this parking, and we'll do the second half. It'll take about 30 days, because it's
Yeah.
really a small parking.
When was the last time it was done?
25 years ago.
25 years.
I mean, as far as complete resurface, we've been repairing it as we go along, but also, with the inclement weather, every time it rains, just like city streets, I mean, all those patched potholes resurface again, so we have to go back. It's a constant, I guess, due wear and tear.
So do you guys are bond proceeds that are older than the 2013 bond series, or?
No, sir. It's only the 2013, well, now we've got, the last issue we had was 2017. That was the last issue.
It's probably one of the oldest ones, then,
Yes.
13.
So, well, actually, this is, interest has been accrued on all bond proceeds that we received regardless of the issue.
Cumulative.
I'm correct.
So not 2013, yes, sir.
So,
Thank you.
Any more questions? What are the wishes of the committee?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve this recommendation to the Board of Trustees for the reconstruction of the south parking lot at the Central Administration Office Complex.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, motion carries.
thank you.
Now we have some informational items.
Yes, ma'am. We're in the process of issuing the final amount of bonds that were authorized in 2013. Our new financial advisors, Irina Galvan and Lawrence, are helping us with this issuance. We do have Robert Irina. I'm sure you've seen him for years now. He's been with us for many years. They've formed another firm. The board has already approved them as our financial advisors. So, Robert, take it away.
Yeah, we're bringing the last phase. We're here in 2019, bringing our last set of money that we need to issue so that we can continue on our bond program. Like Mr. Zuniga said, the board awarded a contract to Robert's firm this past April, so now we're working. Of course, we've worked many, many years since the 2003 bond, so a lot of years together. So I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Tijerina right now.
Thank you, Ms. Benavides, and good evening, members of the Bond Oversight Committee, Mr. Zuniga and staff. Again, for the record, Robert Tijerina with TGNL. It feels a little odd saying my name out there with a firm name, but with TGL, we're the financial advisors for the school district. I appreciate the opportunity to present this evening to the Bond Oversight Committee. Again, I'm here to present the United Independent School District Plan of Finance and Limited Tax School Building Bond Series 2019. This exact information was just a slight modification, was presented to the school board back on May the 15th. If you turn to page 3, I could go off of here. Let's see, we identified needs based on the 2013 bond election, November, I believe it was November the 13th. And I believe about 6 years ago is when the discussion to create and form the Bond Oversight Committee. The bond election took place again on November the 13th, 2013. The projects, I believe, will be discussed later, but real quickly, we're the last phase. This is the fourth and final phase of the bond election. We're looking at 2 ninth grade campuses, 2 elementaries, technology, safety upgrades, several addition and renovations throughout the district. We'll be issuing about $88.7 million out of the remaining authorized debt. The borrowing rates remain low. Back in 2017, a couple of years ago, the last third phase of the bond election, the interest rate was 3.6%. This is the third bullet point. We're looking to obtain probably about 3.4, possibly lower. As we all know, interest rates have been raised in 2017, 2018, early this year. The end of January, the Federal Reserve said they're no longer going to increase interest rates. It's coming to a standstill. Within the last few days, one of the Fed chairmen or one of the Fed Reserve members has said now they're looking to probably cut interest rates again. So right now, Fed funds interest rates are about 2.5%. What that means, what Ms. Benavides, Mr. Flores is gaining on the money that is deposited with a local bank is about 2.5% interest rate. So right now, the bond ratings that we have currently outstanding is Moody's AA2, Fitch AA-. We're just a step or two away from being a AAA standalone rating with Moody's and Fitch. Next bullet point, again, the board met on May the 15th to approve the parameters resolution. And this parameters resolution allows the working group, bond counsel, financial advisors, the underwriters council, and also the underwriters to start the paperwork and the legal documents with your staff to move forward and begin the pricing or final sale, which will take place right around July the 16th. And on July the 17th, the board is going to meet to approve the financing as final. So on the July the 17th, everything will be locked in, the interest rate, the principal and interest. And then if that item is approved, we will close the financing on August the 14th. And what that means, August the 14th is when the school district will receive the money on the last financing from the bond election. Again, we're looking to go out there and sell the bonds on July the 16th. The INS tax rate, we're anticipating about 23.4 cents for next fiscal year 2020. This represents an INS tax rate increase of about 2.23 cents. Again, we're looking to increase about 2.23 cents depending, again, we're using a preliminary interest rate about 3.4%, preliminary property values. So once we get the property values final and certified late July, we lock in the interest rate a week before that, July the 16th, we'll know exactly what the INS tax rate increase will be. Right now we're estimating about 2.23 cents. The last bullet point, back in 2013, the INS tax rate increase, we're anticipating about 12.93 cents for the entire $408 million in change bond election. Again, just under 13 cents. And right now, after selling 3 phases and looking at the remaining amount, we're looking at an increase instead of 12.9, roughly 7.9 cents. And we're hoping to be a little less than that. Again, those 2 factors, once the property values come in late July and once we lock in the interest rate on July the 16th. We're hoping to hit 7.9 cents or lower. And again, back in 2013, the INS tax rate, interest and sinking fund tax rate, which pays for all the outstanding debt of the district, was at 15.486 cents. And again, for next fiscal year, we're anticipating about 23.4 cents for next fiscal year 2020. If you turn to the next page, this is the estimated INS tax rate increase. And if you notice on the left column, the net assessed valuation, that's what I'm talking about. Once we receive the final certification for fiscal year ending 2020, that will be filled in and locked in as final. Right now we're anticipating about $17.7 billion, an increase of about 6.7 cents, 6.7%. That should be probably a little bit higher, but we'll know again in about a month and a half. The principal and interest we're anticipating for the financing is on this column. Again, the interest rate is about 3.64%. We're averaging for about 30 years about $4.9 million principal and interest. The INS tax rate currently for this current fiscal year is 0.2117. We're going to have an increase of about 2.23 cents, which gets us to that 23.4 cents. And again, we're going to have a drop. The district will have a drop in fiscal year ending 2024, from 23 to 24, and we're looking to see a drop of about 2.5 cents roughly. So there's capacity to either look at additional projects or consider giving back those pennies to the community. If you turn to the next page, page 5, the working group participants, again, we have the issuer, United Independent School District Financial Advisor, the co-bond counsel, Winstead and Juan Cruz and Associates. Senior underwriter is Citigroup, co-senior underwriter, R.W. Baird, followed by 3 co-managers, J.P. Morgan, Seabird, Cisneros, Shank and Company, Stifel, Nicholas and Company Incorporated, Underwriters Council, McCall, Parkers and Horton, and paying agent is Wells Fargo. I know it's a lot of information, but I congratulate the committee and the staff. This has been a long process, 6 years. The last financing, as Mr. Zuniga stated, occurred in 2017. This would be the 4th and final phase and installment from the $408 million bond election back in 2013. Any questions from the committee or staff?
Just a question, curiosity. Ratings.
Yes, sir.
You said the school district's ratings are in AA.
Yes, sir.
How do ratings get determined in terms of how can the school district's ratings move up?
And that's a great question. We were just talking about that, Ms. Benavides and Mr. Flores. There's a lot of components that are part of that. Fitch and Moody's have already submitted their rating questions to staff last week, and we're already addressing them. Staff has already answered and a lot of them, but some of the key components they look at are property values. What are the property values doing? Are the property values dropping? Right now, you've seen an increase from years ago. The district is consistently growing in a very moderate pace. So your property values are increasing. Why is that important? Because that helps raise the money to pay back the debt. The other part is your enrollment, which is also key. You're one of the few school districts around this region where the enrollment has been increasing for several years. It's kind of flatlined, maybe not as much as prior years, but that's another key thing. Our kids coming into the school district. That's another key component. The other part is your property value makeup. What is it? Is it a lot of oil and gas and very little of everything else, commercial and residential, which are some cities and counties and school districts within the Eagle Ford area? When you look at your top 10 taxpayers, is it predominantly oil and gas companies? Is the makeup of your property values oil and gas? Here, that's not the case. The district has a lot of growth, a lot of commercial warehouses, a lot of residential. So those are other key components that they look at that are the obvious ones. The other ones are the makeup of the board. Is there consistency over the last few years? Believe it or not, they look at staff, they look at the board, the leadership. The other things they pull up is there have been a lot of turmoil, politics. They pull up the issuer. They Google it. Trust me, they really do. Has there been any turmoil there? They'll pull up to see if there's been any articles in the local newspaper, any videos within the news. That has never been the case here. So those are some of the key components they look at to see what is the makeup. So outside of San Antonio, that is the closest standalone, the city of San Antonio AAA. The next one would be the city of Austin, and I believe there's another issuer, city of Sugar Land. So there's not a AAA south of San Antonio, but this very well could be one of those that with a few more years of constant growth, some steady, again, increase of enrollment, your fund balance. That's another key thing on the audit. Are you saving for a rainy day? Do you have more than 3 months saved up? When I say saved up, your savings account, we all want to have a savings build up. What they look at with issuers, your savings account. If things were to go south, could you live on your fund balance, on your savings? How many months and for how long? There's some issuers that they stick with 3 months of reserve. That has not normally been the case here. You tend to have savings exceeding that, which is a plus for these bond rating companies. I know that was a long-winded answer to your question, but it's a good question, but there's a lot of things that they look at. And your staff has done a great job. I can't say it enough. for the last 16 years dealing with Mr. Zuniga, Mr. Santos, Laida, and Sam. Very well prepared in all these conference calls. All the questions are great responses, and so hopefully in the next 5 years or so, we may be that first one, the issuer south of San Antonio, to get that rating upgrade.
And one other question,
Yes.
does the amount of debt that a community, city and county have in terms of bonds outstanding play into this?
Yes, sir. That's another component that they look at. They look at how much debt does the overlapping issuers have. The counties, the cities, the community college, and they look at the overall debt per capita. They look also as how quick are these issuers going to look to pay their debt off. So that's another thing they look at, debt per capita, debt for valuation. So those are several other things that they look at. And I know I haven't mentioned a few others, but that is one they also look at. Yes, sir. They take in all those issuers. Laredo ISD, it's not the same taxing, but they may pull that up separately, but definitely the city, the county, and the college.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Does anyone have any other questions?
On the different bonds that you have, do you combine them or do they stand alone? In other words, if you were to want to refinance, how does that work?
Yes, sir. We look at combining them. What is available to refinance? And there is about almost a $4 million refunding opportunity for the school district that we are moving forward. The board approved that, the staff approved it, and the board approved to move forward and refinance that debt. So we look to see, out of all the debt you have outstanding, is there an opportunity to refinance this debt? Right now, it's about $4 million of your outstanding debt that we're going to take from a higher interest rate and put it into a lower interest rate. Next year, and maybe the year 2020, there is another opportunity, and possibly in 2021, because right now, whenever you sell bonds, they have a certain call feature, 10-year non-call. So whenever you sell the bonds and you get your money, you cannot refinance the first 10 years. You can look to refinance anything afterwards if it makes sense. And a few years ago, they removed the advanced refunding opportunities, meaning that you can refinance some debt if it's longer than 3 months from the call date. So they removed that, saying if you want to do it, you got to make it as with a higher interest rate. And right now, the only thing that's current that's refundable that is within 90 days is $4 million. So the opportunities to refinance additional debt would begin next year.
And that can go into general fund?
Oh, no, that stays in the INS tax rate.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Great question. The savings stays on the INS tax rate because it is paid by the INS tax rate.
Then my other question is, and I enjoy this part, so I'm not saying I want to get rid of it, but this school district is I believe the only ones that have a homestead exempt, of all the taxing entities, we're the only one, which is 15%, which I enjoy, taxpayer, and I enjoy it. But how does that impact your rating?
Well,
Because
they
that's potentially 15%.
right, they look at that. It stresses the INS tax rate because we're giving them additional revenue to save. So it's just stressing slightly. And this has always been the case, but the rating companies discuss that with staff. Is there any additional potential increase down the road? And it's been pretty consistent. It's something they talk about and something they probably mention on a few occasions, but it's never been something that they've been constantly worried about. They know it's a little bit more, but again, it's not something that stresses the factors on determining the bond rating. Because again, they think about the other side, that the issuer is going out there and increasing the INS tax rate, asking the voters to approve a bond election to tax the community. But on the flip side, they're saying we're going to also give the homeowners a break.
Then my last question is, because of the growth that UISD has, we're going to come into more teachers, more administration, more maintenance, employment. So the increase of employment is going to be there, but the way I see it, that's just more opportunities for people to buy homes and stuff because it's better incomes, which hopefully will turn into some money that comes back to the
More
school.
taxes, yeah.
Taxes. how does that play out when they're looking at your ratings and stuff like that?
Those are questions that are actually on the rating reports. Is there any future growth, any plans to expand into that area what isn't developed yet? They'll ask staff that to see if there's any opportunity to add additional employees. And they know, one of the questions is there any plans for subdivisions, housing, whether it be apartments or subdivision? And I think there's always been that question asked, and the staff has always responded, we are growing, at a slow pace, so we're adding schools out in that area, and we're looking at adding additional staff. So that is a plus when they look at growth for the school district, adding additional personnel, subdivision, because kind of that old cliche, if you build it, they will come. So you're putting those schools in strategic areas where these housing subdivisions are being built, and families want to go there. So it's definitely a positive look for the school district.
What are the wishes of the committee? Oh, that's, thank you.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all so much
Thank
for your
you very
time. I
much.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Robert.
And congratulations.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Bond construction update? Nice.
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair, Bond Oversight Committee members, and members of the audience. The following ongoing projects and their status are as follows. First project, LBJ 9th Street Campus, its substantial completion date is July 15, 2019. We're at approximately 90% completion. The second project, elementary school number 30, the Salinas Elementary School. That project is already 100% complete and will be open in August. And the third school that we're working on is elementary school number 31, the Coles at Winfield, which is approximately 35% complete and scheduled to open. December 31st, 2019.
The Coles is 2019?
Yes.
Really?
So starting with the first project.
Sorry.
I think the close is 2020, isn't it? August 2020?
That's what it was.
It will be
Or
complete
20
on December, but we won't open
Yes.
until August.
Oh, yes, it'll be completion. Yeah,
2020.
substantially complete. They're not open for business until. Okay, we're looking at LBJ 9th grade campus and looking at it by section. You see here that segment A, work in progress, with practically cleaning electrical and electrical equipment installation and exterior soffit placement. Section B, the work in progress is exterior soffit. Segment C, we got guardrails and floor tile placement, installation in progress, as well as the soffit placement. Segment D, lighting fixtures, floor tile placement, and millwork. Segment E, floor tiles, electrical seating, floor tile, and guardrail placement. Concrete stairs, rating installation. Segment F, locker placement, and then the final segment, the exterior soffit and canopy installation. So the following slide will show some of the photos showing these the descriptions that I just mentioned. Here we have the interior view of the administrative areas.
Just a reminder, this facility is a prototype of the other three ninth grade campuses that have already gone out.
And we have the legend of the plan of the overall plan on the corner of the page. So that gives you a reference as to the areas as they're being worked. But as you can tell, it's at 90% completion. All the finishes are in place, and we're getting our final inspections. We have electrical. We have final power already to the site. We're working the exterior of the building and the site as well, with irrigation and landscaping, in progress. The drive, the parking lot areas, and the curb and gutters are already poured out. And we already have our furniture scheduled for next month, So by next month, we should have this building furnished and ready to operate in August. Any questions on LBJ ninth grade? Okay, the second project on the list is Salinas Elementary School. And this building, like I said, it's 100% completion. And if you go through the photos, you're going to see a completed.
I believe we already have the CO for this one, right?
Yes,
No?
CO's been issued and building's been furnished. And so here you see some of the exterior views of the drive, the parking area, exterior finishes. On this campus, we did incorporate a small plaza at the main entrance with some planters to be used as seating areas for kids as they wait.
We did the xeriscape on the
This is the
landscape
first
area.
campus as well that we did incorporate xeriscaping as our landscape plan.
Good idea.
Save a lot of water.
It's going
Yeah.
We're all gonna zero.
Yes, and actually, Mr. Leroy Gutierrez, Director of Maintenance, is here, who was instrumental in doing all the exterior irrigation, landscaping, xeriscaping with his crew. So we were going to use in-house.
We did that in-house.
Ay, Dios mío.
So again, this is a
You won't hold that
prototype.
against
Ay,
me.
Dios mío.
So this is a prototype of our elementary school, which you all.
But they work for an orange and white school, remember that?
That's right.
A school district.
So this one's ready to go.
This
one's
is ready
to
100%.
We've already made some boundary changes, kind of even out the population, so it's between Luis and Salinas, so this will be the new Salinas Elementary School.
Is it being used during the summer?
Not right now, no.
Now we're actually finalizing moving furniture, setting everything up.
Just last week, we did the key transfer to the principal. So he has his keys and he'll be distributing all of the school leaders. So the courtyard feature with paver design to from one side of the building to the other.
On this one, we used pavers. In the previous prototypes, I think we used stained concrete or colored concrete. This time around, we used pavers instead. It makes it look a little nicer. So, she's ready to go.
Fully equipped.
It's the library, so. Cafeteria, brand new kitchen roll.
Looks good.
There's a lot of pictures for this one. Now, the final project on the list is the elementary school number 31, over at the Cove subdivision. And this one, like I mentioned earlier, is 35% complete. And if you go through the floor plan, you're gonna see that area A, we have the storefront framing completed, building up the CMU walls, AC ductwork installation is ongoing. We have area B building up the walls as well. Retaining wall sidewalks outside the library. Area C, pre-engineered frame completed. More CMU wall placement and courtyard installation of exterior walls and everything will be in place.
Once again, it's a prototype, so.
We'll go to roll and probably first on the access road on the Greenfield subdivision to get to the school. Yes,
Correct.
When we open a new school, do we have to hire, for example, more custodians? Or do we just take some from other schools because the other schools might be downsizing or something?
It depends. For example, this one is replacing an existing campus, so it's basically taking the staff, well, with a few adjustments because of boundary changes. Existing staff, including custodial, administration, and so on, just moving them to a new campus. In some other cases, yes, we need to add an additional janitor, an additional nurse. And
Yeah, exactly.
Those type
Sure,
of
those.
things. So, yes.
Sometimes, in some cases, not even that many teachers, right?
Because you split some of the teachers,
Because you
and you may
split
have to
some.
add a couple more here and there, but more along the lines of custodians, the nurses, the librarians, and so on.
Exactly.
When you're splitting up the school, you have to add those other type of employees.
Good.
So, there we go. It should be ready by August of 2020.
We will open in August 2020.
Right. Now, the final presentation here is on the new middle school, number 11, Cuatro Vientos subdivision. And just to get you oriented on this site, it's on South Cuatro Vientos Loop Road. And there's a water tank which is located down at the south end of the site.
Right there. That's one that says OBJ?
It's the one that
Jewel
has
of
the
South.
LBJ logo on it. The site is directly in front of that tank.
This is a new school, the new Salinas we were just talking about. So it's just south of that.
And right now, the subdivision has Bianca's Road on the north side of the site and Vientos Road on the west side. Sorry.
And this is Ejido right here, so just to give you an idea. And again, it'll be a prototype of like Perales, Raúl Perales Middle School. It's right across from, on 359.
Yeah.
In the next slides, you're gonna show the site and its boundary, as well as the an overlay of the building.
If I'm not mistaken, I think the developer has a contractual obligation to extend Bianca to the loop. Is that correct?
Well, it's part of their master plan that
Part of the
they
master
submitted
plan?
to the city of Laredo. Not really contractual with us, but
Not with us,
with the
but
city.
Yeah.
that's their
I
plan.
don't know if it's really an obligation, but it's more of a master plan.
Or a thoroughfare plan.
Thoroughfare plan, right?
Right.
If they want to develop, I guess that part adjacent to the Cuatro Vientos Road, they have to punch it out. It'll probably be a right turn only. Right in, right out.
The majority are, I think.
Majority
And that's
are.
the loop you said right there?
Yes.
That's the Cuatro Vientos.
Yeah, that's Cuatro Vientos, yeah.
Next one, that's the overlay of the school on the property,
Right.
with the main entrance on the west side.
Yes, main entrance will be facing Vientos Road.
What's that?
These are just photos of the actual site as it is now. Any questions? Okay, that concludes the presentation of the fourth project.
Thank you, Nacho.
Thank you.
Sure. Where do you want to go? May 25th? Letter or?
We can go off.
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
I was thinking, okay, what is, Where's my stuff? It was over here. That's why I couldn't find it, sorry. Please, go ahead, thank you.
Yes,
Laila.
our one-page summary of how we spent $410 million, right? So, as you can see here, we kind of have kept the same concept of really how we presented to our voters, where we were gonna use the money. On our ninth grade campuses, from the last time you had a report, that amount has increased by about $2 million, and it's because now the furniture and equipment for LBJ is in the system already, so that pretty much should be it for our ninth grade campuses, unless things come up with punch list items and more furniture and equipment. For our middle school campuses, if anything, there really wasn't a change. What we'll see, I think, the GMP for that new middle school that you just saw presented probably won't come till around July or August.
We probably are in August.
August, we'll probably get a GMP, contract negotiations ironed out, and then it'll hit our report probably sometime in October, right?
Right.
Yeah, so for the Cuatro Vientos Middle School. For the elementaries, there was some increase, not too much, but San Isidro Elementary, just finishing up the furniture and equipment there. It's still in its first year of operations. And of course, elementary school number 30, that's the one that you just saw, Salinas Elementary. That's furniture and equipment also got coded into that expenditure as well. For the other items, we went ahead and added a $227,000 contract for the business, I think it was a business disaster recovery site that we're setting up on Saunders. That hit our books already. It got approved by this group, I think in March, and it has now become a purchase order and a contract on our books. For our instructional interactive technologies, that amount grew by $227,000, and I believe it has to do with setting up Salinas Elementary. Cordy, is that right, the IFPs for that campus, and for any other campuses that have had growth since. And pretty much that's been the change from the last time we presented. The other big change, I guess, is if you look towards the bottom left, we updated our interest income amount. You'll see there that we had $2,119,582. That amount now is about $1 million more, $3,150,722. And as we issue these 88 million, we're not going to use it all at once, so hopefully we will be earning more interest. Of course, interest rates are going down, but at the same time, hopefully we lock in on a very favorable market rate to lock in for our debt, really, for the next 30 years. So those were the big changes from the last time that we showed you this report. And so the next time, we should be able to have the HVAC project at the old United High School and hopefully the central office parking lot. And hopefully the next time you come, the parking lot will be done. It should be, right?
If it doesn't rain.
Yeah, oh.
It's supposed to rain tomorrow.
Has a little caveat, yes.
Let's have a wet summer.
Okay, we'll pray for no rain. Okay. I don't know if anybody has any
Do you have
questions.
any questions for Mrs. Benavides?
This is good, this is really good.
Thank you,
And we
Laila.
do have our rating agency phone call scheduled for next Wednesday, and we're working on those questions, showing our financial status, our construction plans, how's the economy here. One strange question that they're asking is about Trump's tariffs on Mexico. So we're gonna get our information together for that. So we'll let you know how that went. And maybe I guess in July or in August when we meet, we might be able to bring you our final pricing data on the bonds, because we would have sold them by then, if we meet sometime in August. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Laila. Is there anything that the committee would like to bring forth?
Nothing to do with this meeting, other than I just want to offer my condolences to the school district for the loss of the police officer, Jackson. So I just wanted to offer my condolences, and I guess on behalf of the board.
Thank you.
They did make an arrest.
Yeah.
Are we gonna set a date for next meeting, or wait till you give us information?
Probably better to wait until we have some information, then I'll ask when the board, or the committee members will be available for the next meeting.
Ms. Gaitan, did anybody sign up for public comments? Then if there's no further business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.